If you don't do at least 80% of these critical checks before you press record, you may as well not press record at all. And actually, that's the first one. Clean your lens and every filter that you have, because fingerprints screw up autofocus and fingerprints just make stuff look crap. Make sure you check your camera position, because there's nothing worse than lopsided footage because you just couldn't spend like 10 seconds to keep the camera level and straighten it. That's straight, yeah. Before you press record, you really need to think about your angles. Now, look at this for right now. Look at this, it's just flat. So how would you make this interesting? Especially this applies well in an indoor space, no matter what it is. So let me see, can I move this without smashing everything? And just let's move it to, and let's make sure it's straight, and move it to a corner. See? It's a lot more interesting. The backdrop is more interesting. There's different angles and the leading lines kind of bring you to the center of attention. Now, if you're outside, that mightn't be pushed to find a corner, but what you could do is potentially use the rule of thirds. So maybe you could go to one side so you're kind of on those intersecting lines, or the other side, but have a think about your angles opposed to just going boom and pressing record. No. Bad idea. Do not click off this part. I'm doing this as an example. So here's the thing. You got to be very aware of where your light source is coming from. This could be the sun in the sky. It could be the light that's behind you. So as we can see now, yeah, it's like, ugh, that's awful. Now, maybe that's the vibe you're going for. You're looking for a silhouette, maybe. In a very quick second, I can change this. And now with this off, and we've got a different light source over there, I'm getting lit and not blown out and exploded by the big light source behind me. So be very conscious of your light source just before you press record. Check your camera settings. In fact, double check your camera settings. Are you in the right mode? Are you in 4K? Are you in 1080p? Have you got the right shutter speed, 1/50? Are you in aperture priority, shutter priority? Just take a couple of seconds to check that the camera is set up the way that you want it. Otherwise, you could end up with a video that's like 45 minutes of slow motion, which nobody has ever done, ever. Sure they haven't, Vic. Another camera setting that a lot of people forget to check is the actual stabilization in the camera. If you have an option to turn it on or turn it off, maybe in your last video you turned it off, this one that you're walking about, did you forget to turn it back on? Yeah, this has happened to me countless times and it's absolutely ruined videos. So just double check the stabilization as well. Of course, we always fix it in post, but something that you might not be able to fix in post is the white balance, especially if you screw it up bad enough. So also, before you press record, double check your white balance, whether it's an auto, which is kind of good enough for a lot of scenarios, or maybe you're dialing into that daylight white balance of 5500. Either way, double check the white balance. Even if you don't have an external mic, double check the audio. Double check the audio levels. Are they too high? Are they too low? A lot of cameras, you'll see a view meter that's moving up and down. If that's hitting red, you're dead. So it just does, but double check the audio levels every time. It only takes a few seconds. Also, don't ask me how I know this, right? Because if you're using an external mic, regardless of the size, double check the connection if it's plugged into the mic, and more importantly, double check the connection that it's pushed in fully into the mic port in your camera, because if it's not, the audio will sound brutal or you will have no audio at all. And if you have to go back and keep retaking shot after shot because of all of these screw ups, especially when you find out in the edit that you've done them, oh man, you're probably not going to go back and do the video as good as you could have because all your energy is gone. If you've taken the time to write a script or some bullet points, which I think everybody really should, then just before you press record, even if they're on your phone, take a quick look through them. That's all, just like 10 seconds, just to refresh your brain. So you go, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, then I'm going to say the other thing, because you will start rambling and wandering. Because just because you press record don't mean just because what? See, I'm going off the script. Read, refresh, record. Boom, that one's for free. I'm kind of afraid almost to tell you this one because it's so obvious, it's so stupid, but I guarantee you every single one of us have done this. Sometimes we catch it really quickly, other times we're like warbling into the camera for like 2 hours, and then you realize you didn't press record. Some cameras will have what's called a tally light, which is a red light that's on there. Some of them will have an audible beep, but just get into your head that you really have to reach out and just make a mental note that you actually press the button that starts and stops your video. Here's another thing that you really need to do before you and this is check the batteries. Now, fully charged batteries are an absolute given. Don't just look at it and go, oh yeah, I've got like 50% left, that's going to be fine. It might be fine if you're doing a 2-minute video, but depending on what you're doing and the mode that the camera is in and how hot the camera gets and the longer it's shooting for, the quicker the battery will drain. So for example, if you're shooting 4K 60 or kind of high frame slow motion, the battery's going to go down a lot faster than if you were shooting 1080p 24 frames per second. So a fully charged battery or batteries is an absolute must, regardless if you put it in. If it says 85%, you don't know how old the battery is, because the older the battery, the less charge they hold, and that could have you just die. Well, not you die, but the battery would die, and then your footage and your flow is dead. Everything I've spoken about so far has the potential to do some damage to your video. It can slow it down, make you do a whole load of retakes, it can damage the audio, and all of those bad things. But what I'm going to talk about now has the absolute devastating power to destroy the entire video. In one simple mistake, this can stop your entire video. You will lose everything that you've shot. I'm talking about this, my friends. Yup, this old bad boy, the memory card. Get into this practice. Every time you shoot a new video, please format the memory card. It's good for the card, it's good for the camera, and it's more importantly good for your head, because let's just play out this scenario. You've shot like 25-30 minutes of amazing video, and then you're on to the next phenomenal shot, but you suddenly, because of this, run out of space. What do? You've got no extra memory card, but you should have one in your pocket always. You've got no hard drive. You're a million miles away from home. You cannot dump the footage. So do you delete everything that you've shot and try and get the next shot? Or what? What do? So format the memory card every single time, even if it's saying, oh, I've got an hour left in this memory card, it don't matter. Let's be honest, we've all made these mistakes, myself included, both on a professional shoot and my own home studio stuff. It doesn't matter, we can all make mistakes. But I'd love to know the biggest mistake that you've made when it came to shooting a video. Drop that in the comments below. Now, there's one more thing, and that is, these tips will have helped you be more aware before you press record. But when it comes to after pressing record and you've got all your footage shot, that can be a really daunting experience for a lot of folks. So what I want you guys to do right now to make this better is check this video out right here, because this is going to end your editing frustrations. If you want to become a faster and better editor, this video is the one for you.